Cruise news time. Well, the great reimagining of cruising continues. This time, NCL changing its spa offering, changing it in a way that's making me kind of tense. And talk about tension. Global tensions around the world are impacting cruises and cruise itineraries. Let's get up to date on the latest cruise news and my views. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Lido, Loca. I am your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for your face. On October the 8th, 2023. And let's kick it off by talking about cruises impacted by international issues. If you've been following the news at all, you know that war has broken out in the Middle East, and this war is impacting, of course, everybody involved in it. Really a side thing is the fact that it is impacting cruises. Doesn't rise obviously to the level of the people engaged in that conflict, but we do talk about cruising. So let's talk about two cruise ships that are dropping ports because of the conflict in Israel. First, let's talk about Royal Caribbean's Odyssey of the Seas, currently engaged in a Holy Land itinerary. It will be skipping two ports in Israel, skipping the ports of Haifa and Ashdod. Likewise, Celebrity Cruise Line cruise ship Celebrity Apex on a Holy Land itinerary right now, also skipping those same two ports in Israel, Haifa and Ashdod. These itinerary changes, while I'm sure will be disappointing to some, certainly this is the thing that they need to do to keep those cruise passengers safe. Change not surprising. What we will continue to look forward to is to see how future cruises will be impacted. There's also a little bit of a brouhaha going on between Canada and India right now, and it's escalated to the point where India has revoked visa services for Canadians. Celebrity Cruise Line is a cruise line that has itineraries where India is a part of it, so they've been reaching out to their Canadian guests, letting them know that if they do not have a visa to get into India, you can still cruise. If you're getting on the cruise not in India as a Canadian citizen, you can still do the cruise. You just won't be able to get off in India. But they're also reaching out to Canadian cruisers that had a plan on embarking from a port in India to determine whether or not, with the current situation, whether they can actually travel into India and get on this cruise or not. And let me say this, of course, these stories are focused on how cruisers are being disrupted or inconvenienced because of these situations. It's not lost that these situations are much greater than cruising, and I hope that you would understand that we are talking about it in the context of cruising because that's what this show is about. But yeah, so much more could be said about the broader conflict, and this is probably just not the place to do it. And so at the minimum, know that I am mindful of those greater challenges and the implications of those greater challenges. But again, my purview for this show is to give you cruise news, things that are contextualized to cruising. And unfortunately, that's what we have this morning, cruises impacted by the broader struggles of life. Now we got to transition into this conversation about how cruising is changing in 2023, a new reality probably, as it were. Particularly, we got to talk about this change with Norwegian Cruise Line. But before I do that, let me quickly invite you to subscribe. If you like staying up to date with everything going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. Thank you in advance. Well, what am I talking about? The changing reality of cruising. It's been tumultuous over the last few years. Certainly, we had the big shutdown in 2021 and 2020. And coming out of that shutdown, we find a bunch of cruise companies that are struggling to repay massive amounts of debt and struggling to find profitability again so that they can report on a quarterly basis good numbers so that their stocks do well and that they are seen as good companies. And so when you combine all of those things, what we've seen is a bunch of cost-cutting measures. We've seen an increased price of cruise cabins. We've seen a lot of change. That's what I'm trying to say. And well, we have another one on the horizon today. It's already taken effect, but this one's interesting, and let me try to set it in context. There's a lot of different offerings for cruise cabins on cruise ships. I think we know the major major ones. You have an interior cabin, an ocean view cabin, a balcony cabin, a suite cabin. I think we all have a good conception of what that is. But in addition to those cruise cabins, there's also some other cruise cabins that take the cruise experience to the whole next level. And one of those types of cruise experiences is the spa cabin experience. Most cruise lines have the spa cabin offering, and what it usually means is that you have a cabin that's located in some proximity to the spa, and included in your spa cabin purchase is the amenity of being able to use the thermal suite facilities, which normally comes at an extra cost if you're not booked in a spa cabin. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the thermal suite is usually a collection of rooms, the rooms that provide some sort of therapy. For example, on the NCL Prima, they have a steam room, a salt room, an ice room. They also have an infrared sauna, and they have a charcoal sauna. Usually there's some sort of heated, like ceramic seats. Many of these cruise ships have a whirlpool facility straight out of Jurassic Park. I think it's called the Velociraptor pool. What's that? It's not a dinosaur pool. Scratch that whole Velociraptor pool. I was just looking up the name of it on Carnival. They call it a thalassotherapy pool. Thalassotherapy. Either way, access to a thermal spa included with your spa cabin equals access to a lot of interesting therapies that you can use throughout the cruise. So what change is Norwegian Cruise Line making? Well, they're doing away with the spa cabins. It happened back on October 2nd. Norwegian Cruise Line is no longer selling a cabin that has the spa amenities included with it. From spa interior, spa balcony, spa suite, spa haven, there's no cabins anymore that come with the spa amenity. And why did they do it? Why did they make this change? Of course, it was for the betterment of the people. I mean, that's what they said. They said, look, because of these spa cabins, we have a limited amount of space that we can offer everybody to enjoy the thermal suites. And so we want to offer the thermal suites to more people. So we're doing away with the spa cabin, which sounds kind and benevolent, but the only challenge with that, the only problem I have with that is there used to be a series of people that were able to use the thermal suite as included in their cruise cabin price, but now everybody who wants to enjoy the thermal suite, well, they'll have to pay for it. Shocking. A change was made which should result in more revenue for the cruise line. I tell you what, I wish this story had a happy ending, but yeah, I just don't think it's allowed. I don't think it's allowed. The changing reality of cruising, cruise lines are finding more ways to make money from things that used to be included. And depending on where you stand on it, you're either happy or sad. I know there's a whole section of the population that's like, hey, I hope they charge us for everything because we love cruising and we want the business to be strong. And then there's other people that are like, oh, I can't believe the cruise lines are nickeling and diming us to death. And then I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, I understand that the business has to be profitable, that they have to pay off the debt, but I just hate that the path that they've chosen to take to get there is to start, taking away things that used to be included. So I don't know. I've been in a couple spa cabins. I like the access to the thermal suites. But again, I don't know. I don't know if this will entice me to pay for it now. What do you think? Leave a comment below. Boom, that's your cruise news for Sunday. Hope everybody's doing good out there. Hit the like button on the way out. This is Tony for Lido, Loca. Until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye. Cruise news, cruise news, cruise news. It's over.